What do wood burning, traffic, and air pollution have in common with our brain? Scientists are increasingly finding that air pollution may affect more than just our lungs. Particles in the air may also affect the nervous system. A new study examined PM10 particles collected at 3 different locations in Catalonia, Spain. One location was in a rural area, the second was in a suburban area, and the third was in a suburban area affected by industry. The researchers collected a total of 54 samples during 2022. But they were not interested only in how much PM10 was present. They also wanted to know what these particles were made of. They looked for different organic chemicals, including substances known as polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs. They also looked at levoglucosan, a chemical marker that can indicate biomass burning, such as wood burning. The researchers then tested these samples on human nerve cells grown in the laboratory. They examined several different effects. For example, they looked at whether the cells survived, whether oxidative stress increased, whether an important nervous system enzyme called acetylcholinesterase was affected, and whether mechanisms linked to DNA damage were activated. And the results were interesting. The scientists were able to identify several different sources of pollution. The strongest effects were associated with wintertime biomass burning. Samples containing more substances linked to wood burning and other forms of biomass combustion produce stronger oxidative stress, greater cell damage, and activation of cellular defense mechanisms. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, also played an important role. Another source was traffic-related pollution. Traffic-related particles were detected throughout the year. The researchers also identified organic particles that were formed in the atmosphere from natural compounds. These particles produced a different biological effect. They mainly affected an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase, which is important for communication between nerve cells. Interestingly, this effect occurred without significant cell damage. So this study tells us something important. PM10 particles are not all biologically the same. Their effects may depend on where they come from and what chemicals they contain. In this study, particles associated with biomass burning were most strongly linked to oxidative stress and damage to nerve cells. The authors therefore point out that protecting health may require more than simply measuring the total amount of PM10 in the air. It may also be important to control specific sources of pollution, especially winter emissions from biomass burning. And perhaps the most interesting message from this study is this. It is not only about how many particles we breathe. It is also about what those particles actually contain. One important limitation should be mentioned. The researchers tested human nerve cells in the laboratory. The study therefore does not prove that normal exposure to PM10 causes the same damage in the human brain. Instead, it shows that certain types and components of PM10 have the potential to produce neurotoxic effects. That is why these findings are important for further research.